We're now going to cover the sorted function. So the sorted function accepts an iterable and returns a list of items sorted. Note that the original object is unchanged. So it will return a completely new object in memory. If you want to use that object, you'll need to assign it to a variable. All right, so let's see how it works. Here's a list of numbers, and I'm going to pass it into the sorted function, and it will return a list of the numbers sorted from least to greatest. Now, the sorted function does not change the underlying object, so A is still exactly what it was. If you want to use this sorted list in the future, you need to assign it to some variable, maybe like B, and then you can have access to it. All right, so the sorted function, you can pass it any iterable, not just a list. It will always return a list though, so that is one thing to keep in mind. So because a string is iterable, we can pass it in. Let's create a string like Python, and if I execute this, it will return it as a list, but it's a list of single characters because that's what sorted does. It goes through one item at a time. Each item over here is a character in the string. It will then sort them from least to greatest. So notice that it is returned a list of one character strings. All right, so you can reverse the order over here. So let's do sorted of A again. A is still this list above, but do it in reverse order. And let me show you the documentation. It's over here. Reverse is set to false. So that is by default. If we want to reverse it, we will say it is true. And then we'll get a list sorted from greatest to least. Moving on, you might be wondering why we're using this method when lists have their own sort method. Well, the sorted function is quite different than the sort list method, and I want to explain the difference in this section. So the list sort method, it sorts in place. So if you call it on a list, it will mutate that list in place. And importantly, this only works for lists. So strings don't have a sort method, tuples don't have a sort method, sets, and so forth. The sorted function is a way to sort like any iterable object, and it will always return a list. Okay, so let's see this in action. So we're going to reassign A to be this list over here. B will just be a copy of A. Now, let's create C, which is let's sort A again. And using the sorted function. So here is C, it'll be from least to greatest. A will be unchanged. So as we saw above, whatever we pass to sorted will not be mutated. Now let's take a look at B. And B is still just a copy of this, so it has the same values as A. But if we call the sort method, now look closely, it doesn't return anything. What's happened is that Python has mutated it in place. So A is still the original list. B has been mutated in place. So that is those are the two big differences. The sorted function can accept any object. The sort method only works on lists and does so in place. All right, so that does it for the sorted function.